welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley, and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. And today we're going to keep the video very brief. I know last time we talked a lot about spring fashion. I promise you I have been adhering to my eco rules, and I have been wearing some pretty fabulous outfits. I was able to find that Generation X t-shirt at secondhand. It's a vintage cotton t-shirt from the 90s. And I got a chance to wear that one day, and it was really great. It was really great. I unfortunately did not get a picture of it, but next time I will. I promise I'll start documenting this more often, especially on Instagram and other places. And but today I wanted to go ahead and talk about something slightly different. Today, I know the title is a little bit strange, but today we're going to talk about cargo. And this kind of came about kind of interestingly. The universe kind of sent me signs as to what the topic should be this week. There's kind of a new age belief that anytime that Mercury in the sky, the planet Mercury, anytime it goes retrograde, it's usually a 3-week period where communication gets a little bit fuzzy. Like there's a lot of miscommunications. If basically the myth is that if you try to start a new project, or if you order something online, anything that's related to digital communications, the message is going to get miscommunicated. And so it does happen that during Mercury retrograde, you might have, like for instance, I ordered something and I got the wrong product. You might get the wrong product. You might have a lot of trouble trying to return something, or you might just have it just seems like there's misunderstandings left and right. But the one good thing in astrology, the good thing about Mercury retrograde is that it is a good time to visit old problems. So if it was a tech problem that you've been having trouble with forever, you might want to revisit it now. A lot of things that go missing or lost from a long time ago tend to resurface. And again, it's a good time to try to fix problems, or if you tried communicating with someone 6 months ago and they never got back to you, now is a good time to go ahead and try again, because the likelihood of if it going through is better because it's something from the past. And I did actually have that happen recently. I do sell things on a secondhand website, and I accidentally I felt really terrible about it. There was this beautiful necklace that I had put up for sale, and I recalled that I had kind of done a purge, and what had happened is I had left the necklace up for sale on my on eBay, and while I was while I had several items up for sale, I also I did kind of like a purge. I kind of did a comb through of the stuff that wasn't selling, and I was like, okay, this is not selling. Do I want to just donate this to the thrift store, or what do I want to do? And I did. I ended up having a big bag of things that went to the thrift store, and later that necklace, I had left that necklace up for sale, and it turns out that it did get sold, and I couldn't find it. And I felt terrible because I have a very good selling record. I've never had that happen to me where I've misplaced something, and it was driving me crazy, because I was like, I know for a fact I kept that necklace aside. I don't think I was like, did I accidentally have it? Did it get mixed up in the bag that went to donations? Is that what happened? And I felt so terrible because like I had even printed out the shipping label and everything. But I apologized to the person who purchased it, and I told her, okay, I promise if I come across it, I'll send it to you. And I held on to the printing label. Something, I had an instinct. And I always trust my instincts that said, just hold on to the purchase level. And guess what, guys? The belt that I was going to turn into a strap for one of my bags, I went in to get the clips to, I finally pulled out my sewing machine recently to do that upcycling project. And guess what was in the box with all of my little craft doodads was the box with the necklace in it. So that is a retrograde thing, I think, in my mind. I'm going to go ahead and mail the item to the person. And, I've been shown that courtesy also. I remember one time I had purchased a pair of earrings off Etsy, and I had someone say, look, I can't find them, I'm so sorry. And then about 3 months later, she chatted me again and said, hey, I found them, I found them in storage, do you still want to buy them? So I'm a true believer in that. I think, especially at this time, when you're revisiting problems from the past, I think it's a good time to kind of look for your long lost missing items. But that is a great relief to me, so I'm so glad that I'm able to send that to her. So that was one thing about, putting things in the mail. So Mercury Retrograde was one thing that kind of got me thinking about cargo. The second thing that got me thinking about cargo is if you've seen in the news in the United States, there was a gigantic cargo ship that hit a bridge in Maryland. And this strikes very close to home because that is my state. And it was absolutely heartbreaking. It killed 6 people, and they were, just laborers. They were people repairing potholes on a bridge at night. And I just feel like all of it, is so stunning, and it's absolutely paralyzing because I've mentioned before many times on this channel that, what the things that we buy, get shipped in from other countries all the time. And we don't regulate the way that, the weight of the vehicles, how often they're stopped or maintained. Also, we're seeing in the news, and it's really quite astonishing that a lot of, yes, these barges are insured, but they tend to go with rules that predate the Titanic. I mean, literally from the late 1890s as to the responsibility that they have for their cargo or for their shipping methods. And what's happening is that the weight of what we're shipping is so much more. And, and I actually looked at a list, and it's amazing. I talk about fast fashion all the time. A lot of what was on that cargo ship was clothes. A lot of it was microwaves. And the crazy thing is there were hazardous materials on that boat as well, and that were leaking into the river. There were, battery acid and several other things that we do not want to be added to our waterways. I'm a big advocate of keeping our rivers clean, and plus, who wants to be eating crabs that have been marinating in some toxic waste? That's what I'm talking about. So I do think that I hope that this tragedy will bring about some positive change, that we will start looking at these factors, that, the way things were shipped, the weight of things that were shipped, the amount of things that were shipped, because it's a tragedy, but when you think about it, how heavy is that ship? If it loses power, how can you control it? And honestly, no bridge anywhere in any country would have been able to withstand the onslaught of that. We can always build things better, but how many tons was it that, when you look at the statistics, it's pretty crazy. So that was, one of the second things, and, not to bring world news into it, but this is, this has been a red flag for a long time, and we never looked at it. And, how much of the things that we buy are on those barges, you know what I mean? It's not to say, as I say here always on this channel, it's not to say to not take up space. If you need to buy a new refrigerator, buy a new refrigerator. But my thing is that we're making things very cheaply now, and we're just throwing away things on a whim. We really need to use it up, make it last, build it better. Not, you really need to question what it is that we're shipping in all the time and the cost of that. I mentioned also in my shipping, I did have a video called Shipping and Packaging that there's several really good videos in that post too that I posted that talk about, the reason, we talk so much about the cost of living and how expensive it is and how unfair it is if you are, making minimum wage or you're just starting out on a new job and everything is so hyped up. Half the reason it is that things cost so much is not just because of inflation. Yes, the pandemic inflated costs of things for, the safety precautions, the amount of workers that could safely be on a dock with social distancing and so forth. But the other side of that too is that when you buy something, if you need to return it, and it's just, that $1 sticker can become a $20 sticker because of the cost of shipping it back and forth. The cost of the return is 5 times as much. The other thing that we're seeing also with this disaster is that a lot of the companies that pay to have their wares unloaded at these docks are on the hook for where they're going. They have very short to no notice as to where their merchandise is being unloaded, and then they have to pay the extra, shipping to go get it, probably by land with trucks, which is an alternate, form, which is a lot more out of pocket, which means they're going to have to charge you more for the individual item to make up for all of that cost. So it's a big system, and everyone gets their little piece of the pie. And when it comes to that, it just makes us think, okay, how mindful are we being about the things that we're buying? And so that's what made me think of this topic too. On this channel, I talk a lot about buying secondhand. If something is already in creation, first off, it's probably a better quality garment anyway. And it's probably a better quality thing. And you're giving it a second life. So my goal in this is not to shame anyone. I'm just saying, in being eco-friendly and thinking about, okay, do I need to buy this new? Is it a good quality buying new? How much of what I'm paying for this is actually paying for the item, the product, and how much of it is just going to shipping and return costs and all of that. So when you think about that, or you try to look at it this way, you can kind of get in your mind's eye how much cargo you contribute each year. They talk about, emissions and things like that. And these cargo ships do have a lot of emissions. We talk about like how much cars, we fuss so much about electric cars, but one of those cargo ships, it emits so much carbon dioxide. It's ridiculous. And if you talk about your carbon footprint, which was a term coined by, I'll post a video down below. There's a carbon footprint was it was coined by the petroleum companies, but the millionaire gas companies are trying to make you feel like you're responsible for your carbon footprint when really they're selling you the gas and pushing a car culture that makes us reliant on driving places. So it's very hypocritical, but if you want, there's a video that talks about that. But my goal in this year and learning as we recover from this is not only are we going to build back stronger and better, and it will be a long road, and it's just unfortunate that we have to be the example to the rest of the country and the rest of the world as to what a danger this is. But maybe we can also think about, okay, was anything that I purchased on that barge, would anything that I would purchase be on that barge? How can I make that better in 2024? And that's really the kind of the mindfulness that you can have coming close to Earth Day and things like that. The last thing that really got me thinking about this as well, and this is, it's kind of funny but kind of not. I went into the post office, and it's funny, I have two letters that are, I had two letters that contain donation checks, and I had it signed for delivery, and I'm having the worst trouble with that. Like, they're not getting delivered, they're getting sent back, and I don't know where I'm supposed to pick them up. So again, I'm blaming that on Mercury Retrograde too. But as I was going into the post office to try to send these letters or pick these letters back up, I saw a lady with a flat kind of cardboard box that had a bunch of holes in it. And I thought it was a little strange, but I held the door for her at the post office, and the box was chirping, meaning it was cheeping, like there were baby chicks inside. And so I walked in, and I know my post office lady, she's so sweet. And I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, I'm not trying to be nosy, but was that a box of live animals? And she's like, oh yeah. I was like, and I was just kind of flabbergasted. Maybe this is my own ignorance, but I was like, you can ship, baby chicks? And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, you can ship a lot of things. You can ship, turtles. And she goes, the one thing I do not like them shipping is bees. I hate it when they ship the bees. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And she's like, yeah, sometimes they get out of the box. And she goes, and then I was really shocked. And I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? And it's funny, there's a TV series, and if you have, I know there's a lot of streaming channels, if you have Max, HBO Max, if you have that streaming channel, or you subscribe to that service, there's a show called Mysteries at the Museum. And Mysteries at the Museum, I know it's a drama series, but it really is educational. I love binge watching the channel. But they talked about, bees. But one other thing they talked about, and this is true, that talks about the shipment of animals, is there was one episode, and I'll try to put the season and the episode down below in the description box and the details box. But I was watching this just the other day. I think it was like season 8 or 9, and they talked about how there was a town in the United States that had an overpopulation of beavers, the little animals with the flat tails. And beavers are very good for the environment because they build dams. They're dam builders, so they do help control overflows with rivers and things, and they're very good to have. But apparently their population had gotten a little out of control, and they didn't want to be responsible for killing off beavers. So instead they said, oh, okay, if we have an overpopulation of these animals here, there's another area of the United States that has an underpopulation that would benefit from beavers being there, right? But the problem is that they would have to fly the beavers there, and I know this sounds so crazy, it's a true story. In order to safely airdrop them in, they created this kind of box-like crate that was meant to break apart upon impact. And of course, this was in the days before, tracking and things like that, where you could see, okay, is everything okay? But believe it or not, the project actually worked. And if you ever want to Google it, the first beaver that got airdropped into the new location, his real name was Geronimo the beaver. So it is a true story. And, so I just got to thinking, like, wow, we, at least in the United States, I don't know if this goes around the world, but, also on Mysteries of the Museum, there are stories that talk about, when the post office had to change their policies because someone would try to airmail their baby to their cousin to take care of, right? The post office really did have to actually, and that came up in my conversation with my post lady too. I was like, wow, when they ask you the question, is there anything hazardous, potentially, fragile, hazardous, potentially, any aerosol cans, that covers a lot. Like they they want to know, what the hell are you shipping, You can't just, hey, I'm sending my baby over to my cousin and my great aunt, so she can take care of it. And there's other stories about that too, of people, of men shipping themselves. Like, I think there was a story about that. I just watched an episode that talked about that too, where a man could not afford to go to Australia for his brother's wedding. And this was like in the 60s. I kid you not. So he secretly put himself in a crate and mailed himself to Australia. So this, again, these are all the little signs that I got that just got me thinking, wow, cargo is a big deal. You can ship living things, and I was a little disturbed. I'm disturbed that you can mail bees. I'm disturbed that you can mail chicks. Just because, like I said, I'm an environmentalist. I eat meat, but the way chickens, even free-range chickens, you can watch my post about feathers. They don't have a good life, and why are we traumatizing by mailing baby chicks places? I don't know. It was around Easter time. It was after Easter time, but that was a little disturbing. I just feel like, I don't know. But the bees too, that's a bit strange, One of the mysteries of the museum I saw, they talked about carrier pigeons, and the owner of Maiden Form, the bra company, actually created pigeon bras that the airmen used to wear to safeguard the pigeons. So, sorry, didn't mean to go around the world, but cargo is important, and cargo can be anything. Cargo can be living things, it can be heavy things, it can be toxic things, and I think from the environmental stance, going into 2024, let's be mindful of what cargo we are creating. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be kind of my mindset. Just like with trophic levels, I'm going to start thinking, and that's every day, okay, what journey did this, item take to get to me? And this actually leads perfectly to what I'm wearing. I am wearing a crocheted sweater. I really wanted one of these like granny square sweaters, and I saw them on Etsy. It's just they weren't quite in this pattern. They looked a little bit more like vesty or cardigan-esque, and I really wanted something just like this. And this is bought pre-owned. But what it is this did come from England. It got shipped across the pond, and but it is fairly vintage. I think this was from the 90s, at least, or the early 2000s. But it's 100% cotton, and you know me, if I've gotten so many compliments on this. I have worn it more than 7 times, and it's just a wonderful spring piece, and it's secondhand. But I do think about it, cargo wise, it probably took quite a bit of carbon to get across the pond. I don't know if that came over on a cargo ship or a cargo plane. It did arrive via Royal Mail, so probably via plane. But when you think about it, the weight of things. One other thing that we talked about before too is that the flexible plastics is always a kind of another topic when it comes to cargo, because if you watch my recycling video, aluminum is endlessly recyclable, and it's pretty lightweight, so if you drink coffee or soda out of aluminum, very good choice. Glass is very heavy, but it is also endlessly recyclable, as long as it's not tempered glass, as long as it's not mixed with any plastics. So, that's one of the things with cargo too, is that, regular plastic can only be recycled about 1 to 7 times, and even after the 7 times, it's not 100% recyclable. So the end life, eventually that plastic container is going to go into a landfill. That's its end life. So, but when you think about it, if you try to look to buy things in glass, glass can break, and glass is heavy. It takes more, more shipping around. And I remember one time I did actually, I bought vitamins from Amazon, and it was in a glass container, and it came broken one time. I remember a long time ago I had a really good face mask that I used to get from 100% Pure, and they used to have it in a glass container, and it used to really, 9 times out of 10 arrive broken. So it is really difficult. It's hard. You want to do the right thing. You want it to come in a recycled packaging, but the choices are so slim, until we make some changes as to what plastic is made of and how we can recycle it and things like that. The amount of cargo is a decision. But I appreciate you sharing, listening to me ramble, but that is just something as I go through the year and as I get close to Earth Day, I'm going to be thinking about, what is the journey when you take that new item out of the box, how far did it travel? How did it travel? How are we contributing to the cargo that is coming in and out? And how can we make our purchases count, where we're not contributing to overconsumption, but, we are still being mindful of how things get to us. Now, I thank you again for joining me today. I do have some good videos coming up. I did actually found a place in my community that repairs things. So in the middle of May, by mid-May, that episode is going to talk about maybe having my alarm clock repaired. So I'm excited about that. And it's called it's held one weekend each month, and you work with your community. It is actually local repair people who will show you how to repair the things that you have. So really excited about that. And then I'm also going to look to try to see if I can sew that dress that I was talking about in the last video. And we also have just several really good things coming up leading up to Earth Day. So I thank you again for joining me. If you like what you see here on this channel, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. And if not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.